Hello and welcome to this jazz guitar lesson. I'm Chris Whiteman and thanks for joining me. In today's lesson, we're going to look at expanding the major scale to incorporate all 12 pitches. So we're going to do this in a way that retains the original tonal center of the major scale, but the additional notes we're going to add are going to create some tension and some color and really add some sophistication to your major scale vocabulary. So the major scale is a 7-note scale and the chromatic scale is a 12-note scale, which is all of the pitches available to us in Western music. So if we're using 7 notes with the major scale, that leaves 5 notes that we're not utilizing. And those are going to be the flat 2, the flat 3, the flat 5, the flat 6, and the flat 7. So we're going to incorporate those 5 non-diatonic notes into an exercise. So we'll be using all 12 pitches, right? But it's not a chromatic scale. We are incorporating the 5 non-diatonic notes in a way that retains the clarity of the tonal center. It will actually enhance the tonal center because the non-diatonic notes end up functioning like a cadence, meaning that we move into non-diatonic notes, they create some tension, and then we immediately resolve back to a diatonic note. And doing that will actually enhance the tonal center because we hear tension and release back into the tonal center. So the non-diatonic notes aren't a focal point, but rather a temporary source of tension and dissonance. And by using these non-diatonic notes, we're going to create a sense of motion even when the underlying harmony is static. So this approach will work well if you have maybe a static major harmony for an extended period of time and you're looking for new ideas to play over that. It will also work well over a series of chords in a key center like a 2-5-1. So let's look at the exercise and then I'll share a few 2-5-1 examples using this concept. Okay, so we're going to do this exercise in the key of C. And just to orient ourselves, I'm just going to play a 2-octave C major scale. So I'm going to start on the 8th fret. All right, so that's the major scale pattern that we're going to be using for this exercise. And the exercise sounds like this. Okay, so let's look at the underlying pattern here. So with each scale degree, we are going to add a 4-note sequence. And that sequence is going to be consistent as far as the pattern goes. And that pattern is we move down 1 scale degree diatonically, then we move down a half step, and then up a half step. So in the key of C, we're going to start on C, move down diatonically 1 scale degree. That happens to be a half step because we're in the key of C. Root moves down to the 7th. Then followed by a half step, move down. That's non-diatonic. That's my B flat. And then back up a half step. Right? So that's the sequence. Now I move to the 2nd scale degree, which is D. Move down 1 scale degree diatonically, so D is going to move to C. I move down a half step, takes me to B, and then up a half step. Now those 3 notes ended up all being diatonic. Right. Move to the 3rd degree of the scale, down diatonically, takes me to D, down a half step. C sharp, that's non-diatonic. Move back to D. Right. Move to F. Move down diatonically, that takes me down a half step to E. Move down a half step, non-diatonic, right, to E flat, back to E. Move to G. Move down diatonically 1 scale degree, moves down to F. Move down a half step to E, back to F. That's all diatonic. move to the next scale degree, which is A, move down 1 scale degree diatonically, that takes me to G, move down a half step to F sharp, up a half step back to G, right? So F sharp was non-diatonic in that sequence. Right. And then we're going to move to B, move down 1 whole step diatonically, takes me to A, move down a half step, A flat, move back up to A, right? So, and then we'll finish on C. Move down 1 scale degree diatonically, takes me to B, and then down a half step, B flat to B, right? So that first octave will sound like this. To go to the second octave, it's going to, same notes, different fingering. All right, so that's the pattern. It's great for technique building as well. So now let's look at a couple of examples of how I would use this concept in the context of a 2-5-1. All right, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found this information useful, and I'll see you next time.